Welcome to Module 2 of the Boat Companion Boat Buying Guide. This module is all about choosing the right boat. Now it's split into two separate parts. The first part talks about sailing yachts and the various types of keel that you will get with a sailing yacht, the advantages and disadvantages of all those different types of keel. We're not going to go into a lot of detail and it's a big subject, and it's a subject that really has developed over really many hundreds of years, so it's going to be a broad sort of analysis of the various options and why you should go for different types of keel. The second part of the module will be talking about powerboats and the various types of powerboat, whether it be a planing hull, whether it be a displacement or semi-displacement hull, and why you would choose those different types of boat, which ones are better for what particular situation.
The first type of sailing yacht discussed here is the deep fin keel. Now, the deep fin keel is the most common type of sailing yacht for some very good reasons. The first reason being that it has a very slim cross-sectional area, which means it glides through the water very easily, providing minimal resistance. The other advantage of the fin keel is its longer depth means that you get a much larger righting moment for the boat. That righting moment means that you can reduce the overall mass in the keel, and because you reduce the overall mass, obviously the overall weight of the boat is reduced, and you get a faster boat. The other advantages are, because it's a deep keel, it stops the boat from being pushed sideways by the wind, so it reduces weather helm because of it being so deep and cutting through the water and keeping the boat in the direction it needs to go. The disadvantages of a deep fin keel are that you need to have quite a substantial amount of water, obviously, for the boat to pass through. You can't let the boat dry out. It can't sit on the bottom. It has to always be afloat in sort of 1.5 to 2 meters of water. The second type of keel is something called a shoal keel, which is similar to a deep keel, only it's a lot shorter. Now, the advantage of it being shorter is that you can take your boat in shallower waters, and it opens up your cruising area quite substantially. It also means in certain types of mud, very soft mud, you can actually allow the boat to dry out and sit on the bottom, which is a very good advantage of this type of keel. Only problem is that because it's shorter, the overall mass to provide the same righting force needs to be higher, which means that the boat is heavier and less efficient, less fast. But unless you're in a racing scenario, then that's not necessarily a problem. The next type of hull is the bilge keel, or twin keel as some people call it. The obvious advantage of this type of keel, as you can see from the picture, is that the boat can happily sit on the seabed when the tide's gone out. Now, this is extremely useful for areas where there aren't necessarily a lot of formal marinas which are accessible at all states of tide. It allows you to moor in very cheap areas. The mooring fees for drying mud moorings are usually a lot less. The disadvantages of a bilge keel is the overall righting force is not as good as a fin keel, because the keels aren't as deep, and also the fact that you've got two keels means you have more drag in the water, and you are not going to be as fast when going to windward as you would with a fin keel. Also, because the keels aren't as deep as a fin keel, you do get some weather helm where the boat is blown sideways as you're passing through the water. The next type of hull is the retractable keel hull. Now, the retractable keel can come in many different designs. The one that you see in the picture is a rotating pivot retractable keel, pulls back up to lay parallel with the underside of the boat. Other types of keel can be pulled up into a cassette that is actually located inside the boat. Disadvantage of this is that the cassette can take up quite a bit of space inside the boat, and this can cause problems with the layout of the inside of the boat. One of the great things about retractable keel is obviously you can go into very shallow waters. You can explore up creeks, around estuaries. You can get to places that nobody else will be able to get with their boat. However, there is a downside to these kind of boats, and although the keels do lock in place, they have a tendency, and have been seen to in the past, pull back up into the boat if the boat was to capsize. So if you're in a heavy sea and the boat gets turned over, there is a possibility that the keel could retract back up into the boat or fold to the underside of the boat. You therefore lose all of your righting forces, and sometimes the boat can fail to re-right. Some people would say retracting keels, especially the older designs, are better for inshore and estuary use and shouldn't be taken offshore. The next type of boat to consider is the catamaran. Now, the catamaran, as you can see from these pictures, has two hulls, and it has accommodation that stretches between the two hulls. Now, one of the great advantages of a catamaran is that you get a lot more accommodation on the boat. The reason for this is that the accommodation, as I say, stretches right between the two hulls, and you also get normally sleeping accommodation in both of the hulls, so you get a very, very large boat, but then you also pay for it. They do cost a lot more than a mono-hull boat. One of the things to consider is it also costs a lot more money to moor those kinds of boats in a marina. One of the things to consider with a catamaran is the safety aspects of the design. Now, if you're in an extremely large sea and you get a big wave that topples a boat over, there is the possibility that the boat will not re-right itself. Catamarans, because they're so wide, do not automatically turn themselves back up the right way. That's not necessarily a big issue, and some would say that the downside of a catamaran not rewriting is far outweighed by the fact that you've got a much more level platform to walk around on. It's a much safer boat for sort of general day-to-day use because it's not heeling right the way over like a monohull would do. You also generally get quite a bit more speed out of a catamaran because of the fact that it remains upright, and the mast remains upright. And in any case, if you do get into a big sea, as long as you reduce the area of your sail early enough, then there shouldn't be a big problem. The final type of boat to consider is the trimaran. Now, the trimaran obviously has three hulls, which can make the boat even wider and even more stable than a catamaran. These boats are therefore extremely fast. But one of the disadvantages is obviously the amount of room that these kind of boats take up, especially if you want to put a trimaran in a marina. You will end up paying at least 1.5 times the cost of the monohull of an equal length, and sometimes they will charge even more than that for keeping a trimaran in a marina. So unless you're serious about the fact that you want your boat to go very fast, then trimarans are normally not the boat of choice.
Well, thank you for listening to part one of this module on choosing the right boat. The second part of this module is on a separate video and is all about choosing the right powerboat. So I hope you can join us for that.